Hey guys, welcome. So this is Mike with FormAWin, and we're here to help coach engineering students on how to get their first engineering job and turn them into the number one top percent of engineers. Today I'm interviewing Kevin. Hi, Kevin. So
Hi.
to start with, I would love to get to know you a little bit better, and you can introduce yourself. So go ahead.
Hi. So my name's KevinHarillal. I'm a systems engineer at L3 Harris. I went to the University of Central Florida and got my first job in upstate New York in Rochester. So I'm working in their communication systems department under the sector tactical communications. Been doing that for a year and a half now, coming on 2 years, and I really, really like it. And just happy to be here and talk a little bit about that.
Awesome, man. I love it. That sounds super exciting. I'm excited to dig into it. And then also the purpose of this platform and this interview is for all these students that are going to be watching this is giving you process and step-by-step instructions and try to find that one piece of information from this that's going to help change your life and the trajectory that you're on that you can implement into your own life and your own career strategies that can help you grow and get your first engineering job. So without further ado, thank you, Kevin. So number one, I want you to talk about your time as a student and what made you decide to go into engineering.
Yeah, okay. I think a lot of engineering students can probably relate to the whole like I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I was really good at math and physics and I really liked it. So instead of doing theory and doing like pure math or pure physics, I wanted to do some application. The thing that most closely aligned with all of that was mechanical engineering. So I sort of picked it out of a hat and luckily I really liked it and I was good at it and that's sort of where I'm at now.
Cool. Yeah, no, I definitely feel that lots of students are in that same field when you were just getting into it. So yeah, no, and then I mean I definitely relate to that too. I went to an engineering night in high school. I felt the same way. It was just kind of my forte and what I walked into. All right, cool. So now let's dig a little bit deeper for the next question. I want you to talk about your process to get to the role where you're at and kind of events leading up to it. So maybe the other internships, how you got from
Mhm.
point A to point B.
Okay. So I know when you first start, you're like, I mean, I was kind of overwhelmed with like, you have to get an internship, you have to, join ASME, you have to join SAE, you have to join a bunch of clubs, you have to do a bunch of stuff so that they like you, and then you can pander to them, and you can go to these interview workshops. There's like a whole set of things. It's a lot really overwhelming to do, and to be honest, didn't really want to do any of that. My I figured like I did so much engineering as far as classes go, and I worked really hard there. I didn't want to do more engineering outside of my classes. So the extracurriculars I did was I joined the chess club at UCF, and I had a lot of fun, and I met a lot of people, and I networked there. Um, I met some people there that helped me get my first internship at Siemens because he had like my buddy had mowed the lawn of like an HR recruiter there, and he was like, "Yeah, she's looking for someone," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm someone." Uh, and so that's how I got my first internship at Siemens, and I did that for a whole year. And again, I really loved it. And then that segued into having a resume where I was now the president of the chess club because I just stuck around a lot. That was my extracurricular. My GPA was pretty solid. I finished with 3.7, and I had an internship for a year long at Siemens. And so that seemed really attractive to people who were taking applications for full time positions later.
That is awesome. I love that. Yeah. So that's definitely something that I try to teach all the students that we coach here at FormAWin, especially with that first part where you had your buddy that mowed the lawn, right? I mean, like that's so underrated, the amount of impersonal, like the in-person connections that you should develop to try to get your job, right? Because I mean, that's going to go a long way. I mean, like that's the same thing for me. I kind of took the opposite route to you. I had joined AIAA, became the vice president, and then I got connected through there. So the president at the time was with her manager, and then they had a position that was available. So it was the same thing. And I think that's kind of a good trend for people that are really successful. They have good networking skills, interpersonal skills, and then they develop into that. So I mean, that's really great that you had that type of experience. Do you know other engineers that had similar experiences like that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, what my advice would be that you have to sort of well, I'll pitch it this way. I know more engineers who haven't had that experience, but the reason they haven't had that experience is because they didn't really do anything else other than go to class and like go back home and like play Fortnite. Like they
Exactly.
they didn't go out there and they didn't do things, right? And when I say
Yep.
do things, I there are a lot of people like yourself who had a lot of success and really loved, the engineering clubs like AIAA, ASME, SHEP, right? But there are also a lot of people who did Greek life, who did sports, who did intramural stuff that just sort of luckily by being around people and by doing things got the position. So I'd say the most important thing is to do stuff.
Yeah,
Don't just
exactly. Yeah.
around.
Yeah, no, it's important to be active, right? Because all those things that you do turn you into the person that you want to be, right? And if you're someone, right, if you're a student that's not doing those things, right, going back playing Fortnite or sleeping or whatever, or playing around, right? I mean, that's great, but that's not necessarily leading up to the person that you want to be, right? So if you want to be a leader, just like you're saying, all those things that you have to do, you got to do to be that leader. Once you do those things, those actions will reflect back once you become that leader, because you're going to say, well, I actually did these things to get from point A to point B. But if you don't, then you're just gonna be sleeping. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I love that. So next up, all right, so let's dive into the biggest struggle you had while moving through college, right? So if there was a time period or maybe a project, a time, experience, whatever was like a big struggle point for you.
Big struggle point. So I think during it was like the end of my junior year or like the beginning of my junior year to the end. It was like 3 semesters, and that was when COVID happened. And so everything shifted from in person to online. And I think that whole deal, like that whole year was really alienating because I moved back home. I was away from my friends physically. Uh, I couldn't go to my club events. I couldn't go do stuff. It was a lot of Zoom. It was a lot of online classes, waking up, going to class, going back to sleep. That whole lack of routine and lack of being outside and doing things was really probably pretty detrimental to my health, mental health. And so it kind of goes back to what we're saying before. And, you know, it was related, it was kind of forced. It just kind of happened because of COVID. But also, a lot of people I knew didn't really have a lifestyle change when COVID happened. And that's sort of a problem, right? It shows like if that's something you're used to, then you're not going out and you're not putting yourself out there and you're not um, experiencing everything that life has to offer. Part of being in college is being able to just be out there and be in an environment where you know things happening, like it's conducive to things just sort of happening spontaneously.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's a great point. I never even thought about that in terms of people or students that are used to that lifestyle that didn't even go through change and they just, they were like, okay, this is normal. I mean, that's crazy to even think about that people had that, right? So, I mean, if anyone's listening and you're not like, if you went through that and it didn't really change your lifestyle, you got to do something to change because just like we were saying before with networking, making things happen and doing things, right? I mean, that's going to make you into a leader, and a leader is going to have good interpersonal skills and bring people to them, right? You're not going to be able to do that if you're alienated by yourself. So you need to practice those skills to become that leader. 100%. I love it. Would you say that was a paradigm shift for you? What I mean for that is like a breakthrough moment, or was there a different kind of breakthrough moment that you had that made everything click? Or I mean, maybe that was earlier on too. I mean, like maybe in high school or in your earlier years.
Yeah, so I had a good friend of mine, Ben, who was like prototypical superstar engineering student. Got an internship his freshman year. Had another internship I think at Lockheed the next year in sophomore year. He was top secret cleared before he even graduated. Great GPA, presidents of clubs. He did everything right. He was brilliant. This guy. And I sat down with him one day and I was like, man, like, what are you doing? Like, I feel so bad about myself. Like, you're amazing. What do I have to do to be like you? He was like, well, you shouldn't really compare yourself to others, was the first thing. And I was like, yeah, well, you're right. That sort of took a load off of my shoulders. And I figured, like, I don't know how he got what he got, or the things he had to do, or the people he knew, or if he got lucky, or if he didn't. But I did know my own situation, and I knew what I liked to do, and I knew what I could do, and that was I liked to play chess, and I liked school, and I liked being around my friends and doing things. I liked going to the gym, and so I just kept doing the things I liked. And so the paradigm shift was stop comparing yourself to others and believe that you're making the right decisions when you know you're making the right decisions, and sort of just like get after it and stop looking at what other people are doing all the time and bringing yourself down, because you have to, like, it's cliche to say, but like you got to boost yourself up. You have to like do things that are good for you.
Indeed.
Be faithful that they're going to bring you to a place that's like positive in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's such a key point, right? Because a lot of people, if you compare yourself to others, right, and you're thinking about that, then that's all you're thinking about all day. And just like we said, then you're probably not doing things that you're worrying about what other people are doing. So just like you're saying it, right? I mean, you should be improving each day, focusing on what you can do for yourself. I mean, just look at what you were yesterday, right? And just try to be better than that person the next day. And if you do that, that's going to compound over time, right? Because a lot of people, maybe they take action once every 2 weeks even. And I mean, that seems like a lot for people, right? If you're improving every 2 weeks, that's cool. But if you just try to reflect each day on yourself without worrying about others, then I mean, if you do that every day, then that's going to be 356 times difference that you just had on yourself. I mean, it's just crazy to put that in perspective. And if people don't think about that, then they're like, tomorrow I'll sleep, I'll go play Fortnite, right? And then they're
Yeah.
not gonna worry about it. Yeah,
Yeah, the it's funny, like the grind set guys, I laugh at them a little bit sometimes, but there's a little bit of truth to it. They always say like 1% better every day. And the the interesting thing to me isn't that it's 1% better every day, but that it's like if you're you have a good day and you get 1% better, the next day you're not getting 1% better on where you were at 2 days ago. You're getting 1% better on where you were at yesterday. So it's like a compounded interest effect that happens. It's
yeah,
not linear scale, it's compounded. So at a certain point, you hit an inflection point in your graph of self improvement. And I feel like I can talk about graphs because these are engineers, right? I can be kind of nerd,
exactly.
but like, you have an exponential increase over time. It's not linear. So your effort stacks. Also, your lack of effort stacks in the opposite
hmm
direction.
hmm Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, some that we really teach our students here, especially, and I mean, this is for anyone, right? And then I just said this earlier too, if the actions you take each day aren't leading up to the person that you set out for yourself to be, then that's going to develop a lack of confidence. That's going to hurt you in the long run. That's going to make you into a bad leader because if you're not leading by example, by improving and living up to the expectation you set out for yourself, then you're just really doing damage to yourself. I mean, both internally and then to the others around
Yeah, man.
you. Yeah. So speaking of, we'll segue here. Speaking of the gym, when did you get into the gym? Because fitness is such a key in life that so many people don't do.
Yeah. I So I started lifting probably senior year of high school is when I like walked in for the first time and had like the whole my uncle taught me how the weights, what the weights were and where to go and the basics and stuff like that. And through college, I would probably go like once or twice a week. I would in and out. And then, when I graduated, I had a lot more free time because you have a much more structured schedule. And probably about 2 years ago, I started getting into a pretty consistent routine. I have a nice, consistent 6 day split. Started tracking my macros. Did all of that, and I found that not only does it save you money because if you're meal prepping and doing things like that, it saves money in the long term. You look better, you feel better, you're more confident. You meet people who are also disciplined because you're all in the same place at the same time every single day. Um, and it's probably just one of the best decisions I ever made for myself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great because I mean that's such an important decision to make too. And I mean you've been doing it a long time, right? So that's definitely improved your life. That's improved your energy, health, wealth, right? I mean, like just everything is compounding from that too. And that's something that a lot of people don't focus on. Like how do you get your first engineering job or something? And if you're not working out, you should go work out. I mean,
Yeah,
that's probably a good first step, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's something overlooked. People don't worry about. They're worried about improving their resume, and that's great. But if you're not doing that, that's something else that's key, man. It's key. That's
yeah.
cool. Great. All right.
Yeah. How to
So
get my first engineering job? Well, the first step is to start working out.
exactly, exactly. That's priceless.
Well,
All All right, so next up, so for you, what are your goals for the future? Where do you see yourself in the future?
Goals for the future. So in about in a month, I'm taking the GRE. So I'm applying for the electrical engineering MS at RIT, and they don't have a minimum requirement, but they do demand that you take it. So I figure if I'm going to take it in a month, and the score is good for 5 years, I might as well like study for it and try to get a super solid score so that I can leverage that for like an MBA or something in a couple years. But a lot of these big companies, as you know, have tuition reimbursement. And so I figure might as well use it if it's available to me. So I'm going to get my MS in EE in the next, it'll probably take me about 2.5 to 3 years to do it part time with the job. Um, I'll probably go and get an MBA after that if I'm still working at the company. Um, if I haven't started being a contractor or whatever, a lot of things could happen. I really, really like my job in systems engineering. Um, it's one that is sort of unique. You don't really hear a lot about it in school. Um, I work on like the platform integration team here at L3 Harris, and so we do a lot of international travel, domestic travel, things like that. Like I'm going to Kosovo in a month. I was just in Vancouver for a few weeks at the beginning of the year. I was in Alabama.
Awesome.
There's tons of opportunities to travel, and so it makes it really attractive to stay.
Yeah,
Um, so I'll learn a ton from that job. I'll try to get on some really interesting programs and do some really interesting work to develop as an engineer. Um, if you're just starting out, you should look into your 401k stuff and structure your finances so that you can benefit from the compound interest, even if you have an internship. I know at Siemens, they had a 401k benefits package that I didn't take advantage of at the time. I should have. Um, that's something that I'm sort of banking on long term goals is, you know, let the compound interest of my investments stack up and just stay consistent in the gym, try to get stronger, put on some muscle.
you got
And
it.
yeah, that's
Cool,
what I
man.
got.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that sounds like a fun-filled, action-packed plan, though. Yeah, no, I mean, you're gonna work hard, you're gonna be the best, you're gonna grow in the company, and you're gonna really win. And that's just because of all the things we talked about, all the confidence things that you overcome and develop throughout your time, and that's such a key. And you're doing so great. And I mean, it's been an honor to interview you for this stuff. And I hope everyone can take a certain point out of this and really apply it to their lives. I got a few more things for you. Uh, what's
Yeah,
um, what's something in your day-to-day engineering job, right, that you found helps you, maybe like an organizational system, a tracking tasks, something like that, that maybe a student can apply to their day-to-day lives.
yeah. So I have a OneNote, like a personal one, that's pretty neurotically organized. My like OneDrive is also pretty neurotically organized, but you sort of have to do that when you're working on a ton of programs. The thing that I really like the most is it's literally just it's an active tasks page it's not a log. It doesn't have a ton of information. It's literally just an informal bulleted list of all of the things that I'm doing at any given moment, that when something gets added, it gets tacked on. And then when I finish it, I just delete it and I forget about it. It's a short term planner, and super underrated, I feel like, but very valuable to just like finish off the day, write everything down that I have to do, and trust that everything that's there is what I have to do. And then I can just sort of detach from it and forget
Yeah,
about it. Go do something else. And when I come back, I can trust that the information there is everything I had to do. I don't have to think about it over the weekend or when I'm off or when I'm in the gym or anything like
exactly. Yeah, no, and that's great, right? Because I mean, there's so many things that people don't track, right? So I just typically ask students, okay, so how are you tracking your tasks? Oh, maybe I write it down in a planner or I just use web courses. That's great, but there's probably so much more you need to be doing, like connecting, networking. There might be action stuff that follows up from that, clubs, etc., whatever the case is, right? So for me, what I use is I use Microsoft To Do, but and then I also use OneNote for work. But with that, like just the same thing that you said, where you get to have all your tasks, you don't have to worry about it. If there's some that I'm thinking about, I just jot it down in there, right? And then at the end of each day, I make sure that it's clear so I don't, like, I'm not missing anything if there's something due today or there's some I really need to get to. And if not, then I can schedule when I needed to have it. And then every day I check it, then it'll pop up in the day that I expect it, right? So same thing, right? Where you have the list and you're not worrying about it. because there's like a lot of students that worry about their stuff and then they forget it, and then that's what's going to really develop them into a bad leader because they're not remembering stuff. So you need to get something that you're going to have an organization system to help you remember things. So I love that. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like people will be amazed by your memory if you just write stuff down. you know?
Exactly. Priceless. Yeah, that's good. All right. Last but not least, what's one final piece of advice that you can give to students looking to secure a role? What's that one last piece of advice?
One last piece of advice is so when I was towards the end of my senior, and maybe this is talking to people who are a little bit more prepared, I had multiple offers and I was really stressed out about what to pick. But the best piece of advice I got at the time when deciding, where to move, what to do, what to pick, was that you can't really, you're super young, you can't really make a wrong decision. The only wrong decision is to like not make a decision. So I mean, you pick something, you commit to it, you don't regret what you could have done, and then you just sort of stick with it and see where it goes and make it work.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I hope everyone watching got something out of this. Kevin, thank you again. You're going to have such a successful career. I look forward to staying in network and connection with you too, because then we'll grow together and obviously we'll probably have another one of these down the road. So again,
Yeah, man.
thank you so much, and I'll see you later. Bye, everyone. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
watching.
Super fun. Let me know when the startup ideas start.
Yes, yes, yes. I will let you know for sure.